Well, my wife bought me one of those little cheap, cheesy beer brewing kits. I opened it up, and I thought, that's cool. I'd really, because I'd talked about starting brewing beer. I talked to several people about it, and I thought, it'd be pretty cool if I could brew my own beer. I'd save a few bucks, who knows. My twin brother, I've got an identical twin brother, and at the time he was living in Singapore. And in Singapore, a case of Coors Light is like 70 bucks. So it's nuts. So he had his son send him all the ingredients to do extract brewing in Singapore. So I called him and I said, hey, my wife bought me this Mr. Beer, little beer brewing kit. He said, take that thing back. He said, go down to your local beer supply place and talk to them. And he said, get some good ingredients.
I'm Steve Bader, owner of Bader Beer and Wine Supply. I opened this business 21 years ago, last week. Temperate climate, that works real well. Agriculturally, we grow hops, we grow grain. We have Washington State's the second largest producer of grapes for winemaking in the country. So all of those things also are a contributing factor because we are really a heavily agricultural state. I had a customer that showed our water hardness profile to Greg Noonan, who was written some brewing books before he died 4 or 5 years ago, and he looked at our water hardness and said, man, you guys got it great. Our water quality is dominated by the fact that most of it's mountain water that goes down into an aquifer and goes through pretty rocky soil, and so that ends up picking up a fair amount of minerals. For beer making, there's a certain level of water hardness that you'd like. The Midwest has very, very, very soft water. The East Coast doesn't have quite as soft water. I wouldn't say that our water is more pure from any standpoint other than the mineral water hardness is pretty optimal for brewing. The western part of the United States has always been a different part of the country with a lot of different personalities, and one of those is more of a do-it-yourself personality because we're isolated in the sense from the East Coast. When people first moved out here, there wasn't an infrastructure. You survived on your own, and even though it's been 150 years, there's still that permeates the West Coast culture quite a bit more than it does the Midwest or the East Coast.